Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, everyone. So, Mary, you got your hand up. Does that mean there's some questions there, yeah?
Yes.
Good.
Hayden in California has a question, so she's going to unmute.
Good. Talk to me.
Oh, thank you, Venerable. I hope you had a good lunch. I have a question regarding about the practice of
I can't see you or hear you. I want to see you.
Oh,
where are you?
I'm here.
Is that?
Hey,
No,
can
it's
you?
not her. It's not her. She's not talking.
Go ahead,
Talk. Go and talk.
Oh, can you see? Can you see me now?
Okay, I see you, darling. Talk to me now.
Yes. Venerable, I have a question regarding about the Tonglen practice. I have such a horrible headache, but not like headache. I have the cancer on the left side of my face, so it caused the pain. It's just horrible pain. And if I practice the Tonglen, I'm taking people pain, and here I am so much in pain. So I don't quite understand that. I am very compassionate, but is that more like it's going to benefit myself? You know, I'm praying that for myself. I'm doing it for myself instead of thinking
I understand.
of someone else.
Someone just tell me the essence of what she said. She's got pain in her left ear. She's got pain.
No, not the left ear.
Explain what she said, in essence. Therefore?
I will explain.
I understand. Hang on a sec, darling. Just a second. Go on. That's right. Okay, so that's not. So the way Lama's, it's a good question. Thank you, darling. So the way Lama Zopa Rinpoche describes the way to do the practice, if we have pain already, you know, of course we can do our best to try and heal our pain, and I really hope you do find a method. I'm so sorry. But if you have got a practice, and if you can be courageous in your thinking, you just simply imagine that you have this pain and that you know, that you can think it is the suffering of all other sentient beings. And I'm so happy that that I wish they didn't have that pain. It's sort of an attitude. It's not to make you suffer worse, but if you have pain, it's a very powerful way, if we can, to think of with compassion for everybody else who's got pain and think, I wish I could have all of theirs. I wish this could be their suffering and they don't need to suffer. Just that thought is amazing. Do you see my point? Meanwhile, I'm so sorry you got pain and I hope you can fix it. Have you got methods to fix it? No?
On Friday, I told the doctor, I didn't see the doctor, but I saw the PA. I said, I'm not going to take the medicine anymore.
Really?
I would let it, you know, I may leave like in a couple months, and then I'm happy. But if I'm so this kind of pain, I have to lay down all the time, you know, not a quality life. And this is for many years, Venerable. It's not like it just happened now and I just give up. It's not. My body has been like this for many, many years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so you're managing, are you? You're managing it mentally. You're managing.
Yeah. So I told the doctor I will stop the chemo. I'm not taking it.
Wow.
So, but the PA was so kind. She was kind of begging me to say to lower the dose and to see how it is. So I just thought retake the medicine again yesterday and today. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, darling. Thank you so much. Thank you. Who else? You see, this is when we hear things like this, you know, we know what pain is like, and we know this. Let's just even discuss this. This is very fascinating. This is really, 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 again, not how we think. It's not the analysis we use in our culture. When you get this model of the mind that Buddha has, that they're neurotic, deluded, I-based, fear-based, and they're fear-based in their nature, you know, the root delusion, ego grasping, that assumes a separate concrete me, which is so primordial that it almost sounds like a joke because we can't comprehend it. It's so subtle. But that's how deep Buddha has gone internally to discover that it's based on a misconception and it can be removed. And that's what the realization of emptiness is. On the basis of that misconception of an intrinsic, concrete, separate me, there is then this massive attachment, primordial emotional hunger to get, to get what I want. Because it's always feeling, we're always, in other words, we're always feeling bereft, we're always feeling separate. We're always feeling that we don't have enough and are not enough. That's the nature of attachment. So this is the thing, because it's so hungry and anxious, in the sense, attachment, when it gets what it doesn't want, and even a moment of pain is something attachment doesn't want, not to mention a life of pain, that the natural response is aversion. I mean, pain is something you want to push away. As soon as you push something away, that's aversion. As soon as you think, oh, that's lovely, and you bring it close, that's because of attachment. This is just the way we are as sentient beings, In other words, we suffer because of attachment and aversion. So you could say, when you're a bodhisattva and you realize emptiness, okay, I'll give you the example. These kind of crazy examples. I remember Geshe, who was it? Courtin Rinpoche, some of you must know him, a teaching he gave, I can't remember where. I'll never forget these words. He leant forward and he said, whatever. He said, there was this example of a highly realized bodhisattva, whatever level, for whom you would say has realized emptiness, therefore for whom there is unbelievable levels of compassion. The best we can say is say words like that, because I think we can't conceptualize these levels of compassion because we have attachment and aversion. And so therefore we're necessarily limited, just naturally. It's the way the world is, just naturally. So we can just, all we can do is hear about it. Or when you hear holy beings talk about, when you hear Lama Rinpoche talk about compassion, he's talking from his own experience. You can just tell, And it's like it never stops, never stops on about unbelievable suffering of all the sentient beings, all the hell realms, all the spirit realms, all the gods, all the animals, all the humans. He repeats it and repeats. It's like you can't believe, So when Geshe Lama Kongtrul, when Courtin Rinpoche said these words, he said, and for a certain level of this bodhisattva, highly realized emptiness, no longer of the belief in an intrinsic separate me, therefore no attachment, anger, jealousy, aversion, dramas. Therefore, you've got to hear this, their mind is naturally blissful. This is what's fascinating. Their minds are naturally blissful. But the compassion is just so tremendous. So he said, for this bodhisattva, cutting off his hand and feeding it to a starving animal, that action is as inconsequential as a leaf falling off a tree. And all we can do is hear words like that, And that's when I said, when I first heard these things, I thought these people are mad. How can you get to that? What is it? It's like, and this way it just seems it's too much, to know that there are teachings to help become like that. Most of the time I think, who the hell wants to be like that? What are you talking about? It just seems too absurd, isn't it? That's how I think. I mean, I find it easier to talk about emptiness. I find it much easier to talk about emptiness. I find it easier to think about emptiness, to think seriously about this stuff. It's kind of intense, It really threatens your very fundamental sense of who you are. It's powerful, And then when you meet people, I mean, Dalai Lama, His Holiness, is said to be a Buddha. Everyone can see he's a lovely, happy, kind fellow. At least that we can see. He's a friendly person. He always puts this aspect of being like an ordinary person, But when you see someone like Lama Zopa and you hear, they all show different aspects. You hear that he doesn't sleep. You can't believe it because he's a great yogi, which means he doesn't need to sleep. But what motivates these yogis, they don't need to sleep because their own power is incredible. It's because of their, as Lama Zopa calls it, unbearable compassion. So when Lama Zopa had a stroke, back in 2011, I remember, it's hard to find the words, but it's like that, for the things he said, it's like for a person like that, these highly evolved beings, this is the whole business about, they are so happy to have an experience of suffering because there's another opportunity to have incredible compassion. So it seems to me that experience, and what do I know, kind of increased his compassion like 1,000,000 times. Because when you hear their words, it's hard to conceive of it the way they talk, So it's really, these are extraordinary teachings. I said, for me, it's easier almost to get into this, This is incredible. So to have so kind to, there she is having suffering. You have even a knee ache. And it's just a marvelous practice for your own mind, for you. No one's benefiting from you thinking my pain is the suffering of others. It's your practice. It's your practice. And then, of course, it enables you, like Harry, to be of benefit to others. Then if you have to be around others, but it's us training our minds to smash the delusions and smash the self-cherishing so that love and compassion can grow and grow and grow. Okay, what else? Anybody here? Just like one step at a time, what we can do, grab the opportunity, like she said, grab the opportunity. You have pain. You don't visualize taking on even more. You just think this pain. Just have the thought. I wish it could be the pain of every sentient being so they don't need to have it. It's a tiny conceptual thought, but it is inconceivable in its power. And this is the real point. It's our mind. Like, the question, our mind. We live at, and the level of mind we live at is the level of conceptuality. So our thoughts is what we're describing here. That's a simple thought, a few English words strung together. If only this pain could be the pain of all sentient beings so they don't have it. It's not hard to say it. And they say that, and this is what I can see with Lama's open, he didn't seem to suffer when he had pain. He was like joyful. I remember the hospital he was first sent to. He was in Bendigo. I happened to be there the night he was sent off to the hospital. It's a Catholic hospital, and they took care of him for weeks. There was this team, Roger, then was Sangpo, the other Tibetan monks. And these nuns could not get over this ridiculous group of people who laughed all the time. I mean, Lama Zopa laughed all the time. He was laughing all the time. He was like hilariously laughing all the time. You don't laugh when you just had a stroke, You have a panic attack and you're in grief and loss and you've got to have therapy. I can't explain it. Roger was videoing everything, so he sent a little videoed message from Rinpoche. Today was the evening of his stroke. And he sent a little message. Well, he was like a senile drunk person. Because he couldn't get the words out, blurring. He was all kind of bloated from the drugs, but he was laughing. That's all I can tell you. He was laughing. I can't explain it. I don't laugh when I've got pain. I've got symbolic allergies. I feel so sorry for myself all the time. We know about that. In other words, the moment attachment doesn't get what it wants, which means pain, aversion arises, and so you're preoccupied with it. I mean, I can't even imagine having what she's got, having cancer and pain all the time. I can understand why people kill themselves. You understand? But what I'm saying is, to understand technically why we suffer is because of attachment and aversion. This is what's like, it's like fascinating to hear that. We just go, well, of course I'm suffering. I've got cancer. Of course I'm suffering. I've got a pain in the knee. No, not of course. Lama Zopa didn't suffer. And this is the interesting point. Suffering is not the result of having a knee ache. Suffering is a state of mind. That's why if we can be brave enough, and I know even now in medical circles, they use this technique to help work with pain. You learn to have cognitive therapy to reinterpret the pain. We can do that. We see we can do that. Now, one other thing, for me, I'm not a saint or anything, but I got, what's that word for noise in the ears? What's it called? Say the word. Tinnitus. Thank you. I've got that. So sometimes when I wasn't, I had, was just there all the time, and then sometimes I'd panic sometimes. Because you panic because you can't escape it. Do you understand? You can't make it go away. So I knew that, and I've tried different methods, and these pills that all these people on the television tell you to take, the computer ads and things, whatever. But in that case, you see, I knew I had no choice but to reinterpret it. And I swear to you, it is different now. I don't freak out now. And it's there, and so two things. I made a strong decision to train myself not to pay attention to it. So it's there all the time. It's in the background. It's there all the time. It's in the background, but because I put other things in the foreground. But second, what I've also know I've had to do is call the sound a nice sound. I just have to decide, you have to decide to call it. And so now I don't suffer so much because of it. And I'm happy. I thought, wow, it worked, Now I'll do it for my allergies. because you always want it to go away. That's what happens when you have aversion. Aversion, much of the time of aversion, is just plain old aversion, not rage and anger even, just plain old, I wish this wasn't here. And all you do is want it to be not want it to go away. And that's the stress that we suffer so terribly. And of course, when you can't make it go away, that's when we go crazy. That's why the examples like Sunny, the one I mentioned on Friday night, in prison, couldn't escape, on death row, innocent. And she said, I knew I had the choice. And that's all she's talking about, to think about it differently. So this is applying emptiness as much as anything, but this is the activity of the bodhisattvas. While Lama Zopa was literally joyful. So why is joyful? In a way, it's because, well, it sounds weird to be joyful if you've got pain, but I think the logic behind it, which is expressed in the 8 verses. It's like Lance Armstrong being really happy when he gets the challenge of an uphill mountain. He really greets it with joy. Are you seeing my point? If you only want a comfortable Saturday bike ride, you don't want to stress and strain and exhaust yourself going up mountains. But because he wants, and that's all samsara for him, but he wants to be the best cyclist. So every time he meets a high mountain, even though he's exhausted, his mind was happy. That's the attitude. That's the Lama Zopa's attitude. Because it's an opportunity to get closer to Buddhahood, so he can be a benefit to all these suffering sentients. I mean, these people up there, they're fanatics. It's exhausting. Or even like sleep. Venerable Roger said about Rinpoche, sleep, for Rinpoche, sleep is a disgusting waste of time. Right? I mean, you hear that and you go, oh yeah. I mean, even for me to pretend to try to have less sleep, it's not possible. You understand? So the best I can do is when I hit the pillow, and when I'm doing my evening practice, my bed is so delicious. I can't wait to is it not a delicious anticipation to go to bed? Is it not? You can't wait. And thinking, so when I'm doing my practice in the morning, I'm anticipating my breakfast. When I'm doing my night practice, I'm anticipating bed. You understand? So the best I can do is I hit the pillow, I say to myself, may I find sleep disgusting. So I'm trying to train my mind to have the habits. I'll have less sleep. So it's the best I can do. To try and not have sleep, I just don't think I can function. So you just do the best you can with it. For Rinpoche, sleep is because why? It's because this is where this level of bodhicitta is real. When you've got that, it's there constantly. It's not just a feeling every now and again. It's your default mode now. And it's like, they always use the example of mother sentient beings, but I think the parent one's a better one. A mother who feels for her most precious child. The whole world are like your children. So how could you possibly sleep while your child is there suffering? You couldn't, you wouldn't. Well, you could only go so far though, because they're not capable. So these beings, I find emptiness much more relaxing, much more comfortable. So let's do the 7th verse, which is we've done the 7th verse. That's the essence of this practice, So you don't have to be on your cushion to do it. You can have the thought every day. You just decide, just notice. You see a person suffering. It's great to go, oh, look at that person with a headache. Then you go, what can I do to help? And then you go, well, if I could, I would. And that's your own personal practice. Of course it is you, which gives you the courage to be able to have this thing called great compassion. See, this is where the thing is, it's an interesting thing about being in samsara and being in nirvana. The usual view we have about when you quit samsara, it means you don't get reborn again. When you're in nirvana, you're in the kind of this subtle state of bliss. And so the Theravadan teachings say, generally speaking, that when you've achieved your nirvana, when you cut the root of all delusions, when you've realized emptiness and finally in one life or other, you've perfected that realization, then when you die that life, your mind ceases. There's nothing left. His Holiness said, we Mahayanas have a problem with that. Because the Mahayana view is your mind continues, but your suffering stops and the delusions stop. So you achieve your own nirvana. So then but because you've got bodhicitta, you want to be reborn again. So you choose it in whatever form is useful, So the thing is, this unique quality of the compassion, which I mentioned, is called great compassion. It's quite specific. And that's the major that's the distinction between the compassion of anybody, and this compassion. But also the interesting point is this. If you're on the Theravadan path, the Hinayana stages of practice, which is the first two scopes of the Lam Rim that we share with the Hinayana path, all the nuts and bolts of Buddhist teachings about karma, living in vows, purification, the mind, ridding the mind of attachment, and finally realizing emptiness. If you're on the Hinayana path, your goal is your nirvana, your cessation of suffering. That's your goal. That is the goal of the middle scope, but because we're on the Mahayana path, it's underpinned by bodhicitta. But if that's your goal, and the fact is the Hinayana path says most people only have the capability of that. Some people will continue on to want to become a Buddha, but the point is this. This is the interesting point. 2 points, actually. So the person, because they say the mind finishes when you finally achieve nirvana, then because if you this is their interpretation, if you want to become a Buddha, then you hold back from realizing everything, because if you realize everything, you disappear. So you hold back, they say. That's how they say it. But the Mahayana path is not like that. You want to become a Buddha as quickly as possible, because your mind will never cease. So this great compassion is a very specific thing, like I said. So if you're on the Hinayana path and your goal is your nirvana, your liberation, which is already incredible, that means every day your motivation is, I must get out of samsara. It's renunciation. It's very powerful, and we all need that. But the point is this. Okay, that's the first point. Second point is this, and it's important to remember this. Because when they talk about the second stages of practice where you lessen the delusions, it's always focusing on getting rid of attachment, getting rid of anger, getting rid of the delusions, getting rid of ego grasping. It's sort of removing from your mind all the delusions, removing the rubbish from your mind. So when you finally realize emptiness and defected it, then it's not there's nothing left in your mind. The delusions have gone. But what do you think is present in your mind is only the virtues. So if you're a Hinayana Arhat, you have inconceivable love, inconceivable compassion, inconceivable virtue, because there's no space, there's nothing left. The delusions are gone. So you also have inconceivable bliss, because the delusions are what cause suffering. When you've only got virtues and realizations of emptiness, you can only have bliss. This is a really fascinating point. It's the nature of the mind. So if you're on that path, your life after life after life, you're aiming to get the hell out of samsara. So at some point in some life or other, you will achieve it. But meanwhile, you've realized emptiness already, and you're already blissful and joyful and compassionate and loving. You have incredible compassion. You have incredible love. But the point is this, when you get to the life where you finally achieve your nirvana and then you die, at that point, your bliss overrides, your bliss and your motivation to get out of samsara override your virtue, override your compassion, and you don't come back. Then they say, the Mahayana says, you don't disappear, but you go into this subtle state of bliss. And they say the bliss is so stupendous. I mean, all you can do is say these words, And I remember one Lama saying that what happens is you go into this state of subtle bliss, this subtle state of your own bliss. And then a few eons it takes, and then Buddha comes along and taps you on the shoulder and says, okay, honey, it's time for now to give up that bliss and come back under the path and be and Buddha, so you can bend the sentient beings. And this Lama said, giving up that bliss of nirvana for those practitioners is the most intense suffering you can imagine. That's an interesting point. Anyway, the great compassion point is what causes the bodhisattva. They will go through the same stages of practice, but because their motivation is Buddhahood. Even you get to the point on that path where you don't need to come back either. When you die, your great compassion, it's my job to benefit others, overrides your bliss, and you do come back. And also what's interesting, single point of concentration is not even just a Buddhist teaching. It's coming from the Hindus, and Buddha took it with him. And that actually, from the point of view of the Lam Rim, is a middle scope teaching, because the Hinayana practitioners need it to realize emptiness. So it's in the Hinayana scope, the middle scope. And then emptiness is also a Hinayana teaching. It's in the middle scope. It's not in its nature a Mahayana teaching, but we know if we study the Lam Rim, the last two of the six perfections, the final stages of the path to Buddhahood for the bodhisattva, are concentration and emptiness. And why Tsongkhapa put them there, I've heard like this, because when you've got realization of emptiness, no, excuse me, not even that. When you've got the realization of shine, calm abiding, shamatha, a state of concentration. The bliss, as I said for you from Lama Yeshe's book, Mahamudra, is so stupendous that you can easily forget about all sentient beings. Who cares about sentient beings when you're in bliss? So on the Mahayana path, you get the first and second scopes. You've got incredible renunciation. You've given up delusions. You're in vows. You're giving up attachment, aversion, and you've got incredible joy. And then you go to the compassion wing, and you focus on getting bodhicitta first. And that keeps you grounded and courageous, only want to help others. Then you perfect and get the realization engines afterwards. You have no danger of losing bodhicitta there. Also, you can even lose bodhicitta. You can't lose emptiness. Once you got that, you're out of samsara. You're done. But you can't ever lose bodhicitta. You can still lose bodhicitta at a certain level. So let's have the last two verses again. Okay, so we did that. The last one was the Tonglen, both directly and indirectly. So in other words, in your daily life, you'll try to do it, and in your meditation, do I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers? In your meditation, when you breathe out the blissful light, you give everything to that person. Seeing them getting happy, wanting them to be happy, that's love. I'll secretly take it upon myself. Meaning in your meditation, you do it, you know, go around showing off, you know, all their harmful actions and suffering. So this is the thing about the pain and the cancer. You don't try and take on more. You just think this suffering that I have got, may it be the suffering of others so they don't have it. It's incredible, you know, amazing. So the next verse, the last one. Undefiled by the stains of the superstitions of the eight worldly concerns, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the bondage of attachment. So, okay, what's happening here is, this is really, okay, what's happening here, these eight worldly concerns, is really interesting concept. Usually in the teachings, they refer to it as the eight worldly dharmas. I know when I first heard it, I had no interest in discovering what it was. It just sounded too boring, you know. But what's interesting, all it is the way of packaging 8 different ways that attachment functions. It's sort of like at a more primordial level. And it's really mainly taught in the Bodhisattva path. So in general, in the second scope, when you learn about the Four Noble Truths, and you learn about the suffering of attachment, and you learn about subduing your attachment, it's really mainly at the level of the sensory objects, at least refraining from jumping on too many boys or girls and too many, you know, and too much cake. First, you harness your body and speech. You control the servants of your mind. You live in a disciplined life in terms of vows. So you become disciplined, very reasonable. Then you can work on your mind. And the emphasis in the teachings in terms of attachment is always on learning to, you know, because the first and second scopes of the Lam Rim, junior school and high school, as I call it, the wisdom wing, is sort of like playing safe. You're trying to protect yourself from further suffering. So you live a quiet life, you live in your vows, you don't have much sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but you learn to become more fulfilled and content because you're lessening attachment. It's mainly at that grosser level. But as you progress and know your mind more and more, then you start to see this attachment at a more primordial level. So this 8 worldly thoughts is really, it's showing the absolute constancy of attachment, how it's the default assumption throughout our samsaric lives. So the first 2, there's like 4 pairs of this attachment. The first 2, it's almost like the first one is like this assumption, this constant yearning attachment for happy feelings, and which is how we live our lives. I mean, the broadest attachment of all is for just a happy feeling. However, whatever method you use to try and get them, cakes, dogs, it could be killing and fishing, because people have attachment to those things to get happy feelings, and they're the tragic actions. But even just to get the cakes and everything to be the way I want it, because it triggers happy feelings. So this constant, it's just in the background, isn't it? And it determines the moves we make, how fast we walk, what we say, what we do, this thing, that thing, the food we eat. It's just there, it's obvious. The constant attachment to get happy feelings. And then the moment it doesn't get it, the attachment shifts to being free of unhappy feelings. That's the thing about pain and suffering. So, you know, the suffering of my tinnitus, because I know I can't make it go away. People have panic attacks. You have panic attacks because it's just so intense. Or my friends in prison who can't escape. The suffering is the overt suffering of aversion and the despair of this ugly situation. But actually, it's the functioning of attachment. And we see this constantly wanting, yearning, hungrily to be free of the suffering. That's attachment. So it's constant. It's either constantly wanting happy feelings and then shifting when you don't get them to be constantly free of the unhappy feelings. We know that. And that's why this practice here, they call it transforming problems, where you learn to see the problem as good. Because it's a brilliant technique to help your mind. In other words, to welcome the problem. I mean, but to start with the small things, please. Don't wait till you got cancer. Don't wait till you put on death row. It just means reinterpreting it. And this is really the meaning of emptiness. Things don't have an intrinsic character, but we believe they do. And this is the thing too, when you can distinguish between the pain in the knee and your attitude towards it, it's a revelation. But we assume, well, of course I'm angry. I hit my knee, we will say. Not of course, no. Then we can know this, we can reinterpret. We are the beneficiary of this. It's a skillful method to make yourself more content, you know. Because there's nothing wrong with changing the thing. As I think Shanti Day was somebody said, if you can change something, hey, please change it. But what if you can't? That's when the practice starts. It's not moralistic, it's practical. So the next set of a pair of attachment is this constant wanting thing. Somehow, you know, and then the minute you don't get, it's being free of not having, something like that. But this next two I find the most delicious, the most tasty, and we really recognize them. And these are much more primordial. In a way, maybe not, but we can see them so vividly. The next two is this constant emotional hunger, attachment, to hear nice words with my name among them. And then the millisecond you hear criticism. I mean, look at the pain we experience when someone criticizes. It's like being stabbed, isn't it? So then instantly the attachment shifts to being free of that criticism, isn't it? So attachment is constant. It's very proactive. And the last two, this is the one that's like, they call it attachment to reputation. It sounds like it's silly, but this is the one that is most primordial since we are born. And it's the closest to ego grasping, I think. It's this constant need to be seen and heard and approved of. So that assumption, so what's behind that assumption? The assumption is obvious, has to be that I in myself am not enough. That's the point. That's why it's so suffering. So we need other people to say the nice words. Robina, you're a nice person. To know that people like us. It's not the same as praise. Praise is a more specific thing. This is just generally being liked and approved of. This is so subtle, you know. In other words, it's the view of a person who doesn't feel they're already complete. And this is the irony of attachment, the irony of ego. We feel like half a person, or a quarter of a person, or a tenth of a person. So we hungrily rely upon people liking us. It's as simple as that. Reputation means liking you, meaning we don't have enough confidence to know that what I've just said or done is okay. I need you to tell me it's okay. We understand this. We've all got it to some degree or another, and this is our worst nightmare. You know? They say the yogis in the mountains who've given up all the regular attachments are still thinking of what the people in the village are thinking about them. So this is just this, so we can hear in our own head, the more we notice this, it's there in the tiniest things. We constantly adjusting our behavior, adjusting what we think, adjusting what we do to make sure someone approves of it, or to be sure that someone won't be upset with us. So we're never authentic because of that. We live in this life of fear, don't even know what we think, don't even know what we know. We're living, and it depends on the level of it, we're living in this miserable kind of, you know, so we have to, I love the saying, we have it in our culture. Our mothers taught us, you need to become your own person. This is a lovely saying. That's what we're talking here, giving up attachment. especially this one. And this is the deepest, so the others have to come first. And that's where, if you're one of those people, you know, like a nice person, there's the good girls and the bad girls, roughly speaking, good girls and boys and bad boys. So what I mean is, you know, the person who doesn't get angry easily, and always right, who doesn't like, but who doesn't. One of my sisters and I, we joke about this. I was always a troublemaker in the family. There were 7 kids. I was sort of the one loud and shouting and yelling at things. And this other sister, she spent all her time, and she talks about it like we laugh, trying to make everything lovely. She didn't like the apple cart being upset. She tried to make sure mummy was okay and daddy was okay and Robina was okay. And if they're going to fight, get her out of the way and make sure that's okay. And she wanted to make everything lovely. That's called a control freak. It's called attachment, people, okay? So it works in different ways. Because she couldn't stand things to be upset. So that's really kind, but it's attachment. Her attachment's the way it works. And it can we can mix it with kindness. She was, mum, you know, always helpful and kind, and person always says yes to everybody. And then you wonder why you're treated like a doormat, because it's coming from attachment. So don't chuck out the helping. That's good, but it's dragged down and polluted by this hunger to be seen as a good girl. We've all got it. It plays out in different ways. And it's really subtle. And it's there in our head all the time. We're always having conversations with people. You know, if you're coming home from work in the car, some ridiculous thing happens on the road, you find yourself already telling hubby before you even get there. And you have to tell him the whole thing. So in other words, you can't just have a valid experience on your own. You've got to tell someone. So that makes it more real. We're all like that. So we call it sharing. Sharing is good. Nothing wrong with having friends and sharing. It's incredible. But much of it is coming from this attachment. And so that's why people have loneliness. I've got no one to share my thoughts with. So we've got to look at why we feel that my thoughts aren't enough. Why I need you, who have as much craving to be loved as I do, why I need you to hear my thoughts to make them somehow valid. This is not saying you shouldn't have friends. It's not saying we shouldn't have people praising and loving us. It's wonderful. And if a good parent, you need to do that for your child. But when you have attachment to rely upon it, that's the nightmare. We understand this. We can recognize it. We can't stand even a stranger not liking us. You're on the freeway and someone toots the horn behind you. Well, they don't much in America until you want to kill somebody that toots your horn. You freak out. You don't even know who the person is. It's in a car. They just tooted at you, showing they don't like you. You panic. It's because someone just showed they didn't like you. We can't cope. This is attachment. Very fascinating. Which doesn't mean we don't care what people think and walk around like a big bull. That's called self-centeredness. Not like that. It's recognizing that our view of ourselves, you know, we've got to grow that view and become our own person, develop our own views and know what we want. We're even too scared to know what we want because we want other people to make sure we're approved of, you know. So we don't even know half the time what we really want. We're too scared to. Oh, I can't do, I can't do that. Oh, no, I can't do that. Mummy won't approve. I can't do that. People mightn't like that. People don't like that. No, because you don't want people to upset you. You don't want people to be upset with you. It's so automatic. It's so subtle. It's so automatic. You know, we're born. It's there. I remember a sort of take on this. I remember this one Australian nurse I heard about who wrote a book called The 5 Greatest Regrets of the Dying. The greatest regret, I didn't follow my heart. I didn't do what I really knew I should and wanted to do. Instead, I did what I thought was expected of me. This is, that can be really noble if it's conscious. If you consciously sacrifice your own needs for another, that's bodhicitta, but it's got to be conscious. But when it's coming from ego, that's the nightmare. That was the greatest regret, not walking up Mount Everest. I found that very powerful. I didn't, because we didn't even listen, because we're too scared. Even simple things. Mary will ring me up and says, the Dalai Lama's giving an initiation, really special one in Paris next week. Do you want to come with me? Oh, no, I can't do that. Not possible. I haven't got the money. Hubby won't agree. They won't like it at work. I can't take off work. The kids will be upset. No. We already cut ourselves off at our knees. Instead of, oh, I'd love to go with you, Mary. Let me look into it. So we're even too scared to say, I want that. Why? Because hubby might upset. Boss will be upset. Kids will be upset. I might get criticized. So if you think about it, then at least you might discover you can't go, but at least you thought about it. We usually don't even give ourselves a chance, because we're scared of upsetting people. We're scared of them being upset with us, basically. We make it sound noble. Oh, I don't want to upset people. You don't want them to be upset with you, that's all. Of course, there's some virtue along there, so we have to learn to be careful and know the difference in our mind and become authentic and wise, and then we'll make the right choices and go in the right direction, not be afraid, not be afraid, not be afraid. Well, that's part of giving up attachment. So, okay, this that's the 8 bodhidharmas, roughly speaking. And so the illusion one, that's really a way they talk. Okay. There's the compassion wing, and then there's the wisdom wing. And the wisdom wing, the nuts and bolts of karma and the mind come first. Then you realize emptiness. That's the finalization. That's the completing of the wisdom. Then you've got the compassion wing. And these two together completed, that's Buddhahood. So you can have bodhicitta, and like I said, until you realize emptiness, you can still lose it. It's not enough. And you can have wisdom and achieve realizations and achieve your own nirvana, but that's not enough. A bird needs 2 wings. So the one of illusion is very interesting. It's a way of talking about how to see day-to-day life. So the one about emptiness, the final wisdom we need. So you're going to get wisdom already by controlling your body, controlling your speech, and learning to control your attachment and anger and jealousy and neuroses, and learning to look on the 8 bodhidharmas. You get a lot of wisdom. You get very wise, very skillful. It's stages of wisdom. Wisdom meaning common sense and clarity, not living in fear and neurosis. So the final wisdom. So that's conventional wisdom. You've got conventional and you've got the ultimate. That's how they talk. So we've even got, so all the first stages of practice are getting conventional reality together, understanding karma, understanding impermanence, understanding the mind. Already you'd be a pretty amazing person before you can get to bodhicitta. You'd be an incredible being. You're on track. You're in touch with reality at a very profound level already, not living in la-la land. That's conventional reality. Now you've got to cut the root of the deepest delusion to get the final way things exist. This is how they talk. So, of course, the words for it are difficult for us, but let's just look at it. And the best way, the best framework for understanding ultimate is within the framework of the conventional. So, Buddha talks about the 2 truths. You've got the way things exist conventionally, cups and computers and cloths and, tissues. Then you have the ultimate, and that is referring to the conventional. So the way things exist conventionally, you first establish something as existing. So what's that, mummy? Well, that's called a mug, darling. Then please give me the definition of a mug, mummy. And she will do that, and she will tell you, she will say, well, you can see it's a flat-bottomed clay container, can't you? And the first part of the definition tells you its conventional characteristics. And then the second part tells you its job. And this is quite a powerful point, actually. But you'll say, but I can see that, mummy, but what does it do? What's its meaning? What's its function? And she'll tell you, oh, well, it holds my tea. It's all right, just okay. Didn't break, just bounced. She'll tell you it holds your tea. So now you've got the definition of mug. Now, this is an interesting point. Don't just believe her. We'll believe anything anyone tells us. That's our trouble. She's got to prove it. This is already very powerful. We're just talking conventional here. If we were in touch with conventional reality, the world would be a happy place. Well, so what she has to do is she's got to go and get her tea, and she will pour it into the mug, and you will see it fits the definition. It holds her tea. So, but still not happy. Still don't believe her. She's got to do some more things to make sure. She's now got to make sure there's no other definition of such a phenomenon in the world you live in, you know. Once you've established this, you tick the boxes, and now you've agreed that its conventional character, this thing's labeled a mug, its definition is to hold tea, and you've proved that it does it. Now you're in touch with conventional reality. Now, if you look at the world, and I mean, the amount of garbage that comes out of people's mouths these days, all these conspiracy theories and just utter, it's like delusions gone berserk, you know, completely berserk, isn't it? No one's got a clue about what's real anymore. I mean, you can't trust a single word you read on websites and things anymore. Everything's just garbage. So if we even had conventional reality, got it down exactly each thing, what it is and what its function is, you'd only have the things that exist. You wouldn't have to make up all this nonsense, and we'd all be quite content. Not bad already. But now we've got to cut the root of the subtlest misconception about how that mug exists. So the world consists of trillions of specific phenomena. Phenomenon, object, objective knowledge. There's various synonyms they use to refer to that which exists. And now, why is Buddha concerned with that which exists? Because guess what he's telling us? Being in samsara, having attachment, having ego grasping, having aversion, and the other delusions, we're living in la-la land. The job of those states of mind is, as Lama Zopa puts it, is to decorate on top of what is there, layers upon layers of characteristics that just aren't there. So one of the characteristics we dump onto things is permanence. Well, the first one is attachment. And I wouldn't be attached to that. I don't think that's a very nice design. I would say that. I wouldn't be attached to that. If it broke, I wouldn't burst into tears. It's a say, example. But if I am attached to it, meaning it's so delicious, I want to touch it and see it and make sure it's there every day. Well, where's my mug? You know, we know all that. Then, because, like I said before, the grief of losing a beloved, because also I want it to be there every day. And I just, because of my own experience in countless lifetimes, we know that mugs break, but you can't bear. Attachment can't bear the thought of not having it. So then we impose another lie on top, permanent mug. This is causing tremendous suffering because attachment is over-exaggerating its deliciousness, and grasping it as permanent is over-exaggerating its exact existence. So we are believing in those lies. So if you believe in a lie, you are always going to be disappointed. So these are even conventional lies. Impermanence, seeing it as more delicious than it really is, seeing it as the cause of my happiness. And then anger's a lie, jealousy's a lie, pride is a lie, low self-esteem is a lie. They cause pain emotionally, but they're fundamentally misconceptions. And we layer them onto everything and have been doing for eons, Buddha says. So just this alone, forget about the root lie, is why we are berserk. Because reality, how things exist, and we're talking conventional, is not like that. It's like all your life you believe that 50 means 500. So you see a $50 note and you are so excited. And you believe that 50 is 500 for so long that it looks like 500. It appears like 500 to you. You believed in this mug is so delicious for so long. It appears from, and this is getting out to the subtle level, it appears in there in the bones of the clay and the paint to have deliciousness in it, as if you put the pot up, put deliciousness along with the clay when they made it. So it appears divine. It appears permanent. Lies. So because what we think is true isn't, that's the disconnect. And that is precisely why we suffer. So my $50, I can't believe I've got $500. I'm so excited. I look forward to spending it. I go out, I spend my 500, I give my 50, and I will be bitterly disappointed. But the trouble is next day I believe it again. These lies are so ingrained, Buddha said. They've got two functions. Because they're habitual and we've built up this disappointment and built up this stress, that it's got this emotional pain, but they're literally misconceptions. They're literally lies we believed in for so long. This is why we suffer. So even giving up attachment and aversion and getting in touch with conventional reality and knowing that things aren't permanent and knowing it's not what you really think it is, already be more joyful and happy. You enjoy your cup, and if it breaks, you'll still be happy. We've got to get to the root delusion that informs these other delusions. These are the branch delusions, the conventional delusions. So what Buddha says is this. Finally, ultimately, it is conventionally a cup, and it does hold your tea, and you can prove it. But ultimately, there's not one atom of anything there that makes it that cup. There's no, all these are the synonyms. There is no cup from its own side. There is no intrinsic cup. There is no self-existent cup. There is no cup naturally. There's no cup established as existing from its own side. There's so many statements all saying that side of the cup, there's no cup there. But as Lama Zopa says, when you've realized that emptiness, that absence, it's as if there is no cup, but conventionally there is a cup that does hold your tea as defined. But what does exist is so subtle, it's as if it doesn't. These are very delicious words. This is from the realization of the yogi, so it's good to hear it. So we don't see things as they exist, Buddha says, at multiple levels. So we've got to calm down the grosser ones first, then it's easy to get to the subtlest one. So let's use the phenomenon called I. I, self, me, person are the words we know we use to refer to this kind of phenomenon. Computer is that phenomenon. Cloth is that phenomenon. Mug is that phenomenon. So I, me, person is this phenomenon. So let's look at this, because this view, Buddha says, that everything that exists conventionally necessarily has no intrinsic nature across the board. So let's take the example of the phenomenon called I. So Buddha's basically saying there's various mistakes we make, and he presents in his conventional teachings. This is the shorthand for conventional reality and realizing it is called dependent arising. The shorthand for the ultimate is called emptiness. It's two different approaches that come to the same thing. They come together. So Buddha diverged from the Hindus, these genius Indians before him with extraordinary views, and many of the things that we're talking about here, the first stages of practice, are all found by those Hindus anyway. Buddha didn't make all this up. He just went further in his own particular view about more delusions left over to be rid the mind of, because he says they didn't go far enough. That's why he diverged in his own direction, why we have Buddhism now. So basically he's got three main kind of presentations, arguments, debates with the views that prevailed at the time about how things exist interdependently. The very first level of dependent arising is that everything exists in dependence upon causes. And this is a specific argument against some Hindu positions that say there is an Atman, a soul. The Christians call it a soul. They'd say Atman or self, that has an intrinsic nature, that is permanent, that doesn't change from moment to moment and isn't caused. And that's the same about a creator. And Buddha would say that's just not possible. So this very first level of argument that Buddha presents, which we need to realize, is that everything exists and depends upon causes. Now, karma, right at the beginning of our practice, cause and effect of me, is a powerful example of this first level of dependent arising, why it's such an amazing thing to start to get hold of. It already, as you start to understand karma, instead of the view that I didn't ask to get born and life's just good luck and bad luck and it's not my fault and no one knows anyway, is nightmare. You're living in la-la land. Buddha says reality is the fruit of your own past actions. Your mind is a continuity of consciousness. Everything you think, experience, everything you experience is the fruit of your own actions. You take this on board, you try to practice it. And if you start to really practice it, already it's loosening the grip of ego grasping. Already it's loosening the self-pity me, as Lama Yeshe would call ego. So already dependent arising is coming into play. And the next level of dependent arising is the one we want to talk about, and it's the most delicious one. And this is the key argument that we need to get involved in, first intellectually, conceptually, and then in our meditation. Excuse me. Is that the second one the Buddha talks about is that is that this I, we believe utterly that there is in here, among all the hundreds and thousands of parts that make up this I, the conventional cup. The cup is made of many parts, isn't it? It's clay and paint and different things. So an I, a person, is made of many parts. It seems kind of fairly evident, but this is against debating with an argument of the Hindus that some things are partless. It's a very detailed philosophy. I'm saying them these very roughly, these views. So this is a very powerful debate initially, and then through meditation. Buddha's saying that we believe totally that there is in here somewhere, as my friend Pende says, walking hand in hand with all the other hundreds, if not thousands of bits and pieces that make me up. There is a part, a very special part, called I. Buddha says, don't be ridiculous. Not only isn't there one, but honey, he says, you don't need one. So let's analyze that. But I have to happily blow my nose with my wonderful experience with I've tried your drug. I'm trying variations. Homeopath gave me another one, so I've got lots of options. I'm getting all excited, anticipating the freedom from allergies. Okay. So now let's look at this one. It's obvious we're made of lots of parts. So first of all, there's two, basically, starting point. You've got a body and you've got a mind. And for Buddha, they're separate bits. We've discussed that. Your body and your mind, they're not the same, but they work interdependently. And then even when we start to look at the mind, it's got hundreds of parts. The anger, the love, the kindness, all the bits and pieces of mind. And you've got hundreds of parts of the body. So Buddha's basically saying everything that exists in dependence upon its parts. And everything can be broken down into its component parts. So we believe that is a very special part. Very simply, we believe there's a very special part in here that if we search hard enough, we will find it. Aha, there it is, the I. And that's exactly what he asks us to do, which sounds hilarious because he's telling us he has found there is no peace called I in here. No peace called I. Now, what this means is this. Okay. I'll make a statement. I'll make the same one. I'll do a statement. Where's my mala? There's my mala and there's the mug. So I will make a statement, okay? This is one of the logical analyses we have to do to try and get ourselves to start to understand this emptiness business. There's no I there. We have to look we have to find there isn't that I existing. We have to find the absence of that I will make a statement. I'll say, I have a mala and a mug. So now, speaking conventionally, and this is the argument, if I make that, if we say anything, if we make a statement, as soon as I make that statement, you already, because you know the definition of I, you know the definition of mala, or you know the name, you know what mug is, and you're going to see that I just said three things. And that means you have to point out three things. You have to point out an I. There we go, Robina. You have to point out the mala, and you have to point out the mug. It's pretty reasonable. It's called common sense. If I say I have an elephant on my table, you'll feel sorry for me because my words aren't in sync with what's there. So, speaking simply, as they say, this argument is called everything. Something that exists is either one thing or it's more than one. Sounds a bit weird. So this is the point. So now this is the thing. I will tell you. If I say that statement, in order for that to be a valid statement, you have to point out three phenomena. And those phenomena have to be separate from each other such that the mala can exist well and truly, and the mala can exist without depending on a mug. The mug can exist without depending on the mala. The mug can break, the mala doesn't collapse. Robina can die, the mala won't disappear into space. So there's three independent and separate phenomena here. Very simple. It's a simple statement of fact. And you prove it by pointing out I, mala, mug. So now I will tell you another statement that's similar, and it gets more subtle now. I have a nose and an ear. So without analysis, you can prove immediately it's true. Ear, nose. But what about that third noun, the pronoun? So if it's a valid statement, conventionally, it is a valid statement. You can see without analysis, it's true. But the Buddha's saying, when we say in that statement, I, we are giving more power to it than it has. Because we know we can point out an ear, and that's fine in this discussion. And we know we can point out the nose, but we assume we can point out an eye in here somewhere, which means we can point out an eye that isn't a nose and that isn't an ear. This is what's implied, it's implicit. But we don't do the analysis. And the Buddha says you have to do it, and you're going to find that you won't find a piece labeled eye walking hand in hand with a piece called a nose and a piece called the ear. Conventionally, you can find an ear and a nose and all the other thousands of pieces. But we think there's this extra piece. That's why I like to use the analogy of going to IKEA. You look online, you see this really nice thing called Robina. I want to buy one of those. And you go and you're a bit disappointed because you get a bloody box full of bits. But it's a really good analogy, because the analysis you have to do in your meditation, you have to, instead of building up the Robina, you've got to break down the Robina into the component parts to search for that piece that we are believing utterly is existing there. And why do we believe it? We know we believe it because we say, I is our central player. I did this and I did that. How dare you do that to me? I have this. We say, I have a nose. You insult me. You say, Robina, your nose is so ugly. I'll say, how dare you insult me? You'll say, Robina, no, I didn't insult you. I insulted your nose. That's a correct statement. So we make two mistakes, Buddha says. We either think all of this is I, or we think there's a bit called I as the owner of the other bits. And we've got to do this analysis in meditation. And this can take years to get it to the point where we can prove finally that it's not true. So let's do a quick analysis with the IKEA example. So you buy the box and you go home and you're going to take all these bits. And there must be hundreds. I mean, there are thousands of pieces. You can see it to build up a person, God. But we've got this very big conviction that, you know, as you're putting the pieces together, you put the fingers in and the liver and the kidneys and the breasts and get the right shapes and the right color eyes. And IKEA knows how to build an eye. They don't give you random green and red eyes. They don't give you 5 legs. They know how to, they've constructed it and then deconstructed it. So they know there's exactly the right pieces there. And this is why this discussion about dependent arising, which is a major discussion in this pursuit of understanding emptiness, has incredible meaning. Because everything is made of parts. And if you know you want to build a table, you've got to have exactly the right parts. You can't just randomly put things together. But what Buddha says is we're doing, whether it's the table, the mug, the mala, or the eye, we impose this added existence. Self meaning, I meaning, intrinsic piece in there somehow. So, okay, so we start to do the search. When we're building the eye, just think as it from the IKEA, putting it together, you know, we've got the exact number of legs and toes and livers and eyelashes and eyebrows, everything's put together. We're sort of anxiously waiting to find the piece in its special little Ziploc bag with gold writing on it called I. Because we believe if there's no I, nothing exists. It's always implicit. We don't even question. Mistakes we made for eons, what it says. But the thing, what Buddha's telling us is this: that that when you've put all the pieces together, they function perfectly as Robina. That when you will find that every piece has gone from the box, that you will not find a piece called I, and you don't need one. This is the interesting discussion, because we say you've got to have an I because the I is the boss. Well, I decide to do this and I decide to do that. No, it's just a label we give to the, and this is the point, it's just a name. I is merely a name we give to all the bits and pieces put together. We over-exaggerate that I status and think there's a special piece called I. Now, the Christians call it a soul. The Hindus call it an Atman. They say there is such a piece. But Buddha says there's not. But he's not saying there's no I. What he's saying is that, and the way to put it is, when you put the pieces together, you will see that Robina will function perfectly. In other words, the Robina is made up of eyes and nose and toes and handles and anger and love and compassion. That's all. I mean, it sounds sort of simple in a way. But we are convinced there's a little boss in there called I. So, the different logical arguments, for example, these ones are pretty straightforward, mala, I, and mug. As three separate phenomena, they are both separate and independent. They don't rely upon each other for their existence. Now, this is the interesting point. Here, you can, same argument, if my ear stops working, my nose still functions because they're separate and independent. An ear is not a nose, and a nose is not an ear at the simplest level. The nose, breathes air, and the ear, a simple level, and the ear listens. So the ear is blocked, nose fine. You can say they're independent of each other. They don't exist independent upon each other in the simplest sense. Now, if there were a piece called I, and we say it, I have a nose, that's two nouns. So please point out the piece. You can point out the piece called nose, but you won't point out the piece called I. And the fact is, if there were an I that isn't the nose and isn't the ear and isn't all the other pieces, which means there would be a separate I, then when here in this case, when the ear hurts, the nose is kind of going, oh, the poor ear, I feel so sorry for it. I'm glad it's not me, because the nose is still intact. Same here. If there is a separate I, when my nose gets broken, my nose will feel pain. My eye will go, oh, phew, I'm glad it's not me. This sounds ridiculous to us. And the only reason it sounds complicated and we can't get it is because we believed implicitly for countless lives, Buddha said, in the presence of a separate I. So we can't just kind of make it all go away, these misconceptions. We've got to unpack and unravel these misconceptions at a very subtle level of conceptuality as one of the methods to then finally trigger the aha moment, which is what you need, why you need single point of concentration, to get that insight into the fact there never has been, isn't, and never could be. Such a peace. When you've realized. So they say when you've got that finally, that's when you cut the root of all of samsara. You cut the root and you can't fall back after that. So it's kind of tremendous. Sounds kind of very straightforward. It's tremendous, subtle. So as Lama says all the time, then so you got the name. So when you the third level of dependent arising, which is the conclusion we come to finally, is that I is the name, merely a name we give to the parts that function validly as an I. Cup, same thing with cup. We say, my mug has my mug has a lovely shape. We'll say that. So we said one noun called mug, and we said one noun called shape. But where is the shape of the mug without the mug? How can you separate shape and mug? You can't. We'll say, well, my mug has a flat bottom. If you take away the flat bottom and you take away the shape and you take away the clay and you take away the paint, you just got a bunch of bits and pieces. So you put them all together, it functions as a mug, but like we believe there's a special intrinsic little me in here, we used to believe there's some kind of intrinsic mugness there, that mugness is a characteristic there in the mug, and Buddha said it's not. So mug is merely labeled on the base. That's a valid base. It must be a valid base. It must be the thing that holds your tea. I, Robina, must be the label for the valid base of this particular piece of the parts, That's how they talk. So the fact is, you search in that IKEA box, and it's true, you won't find a piece called I. So that's what happens here is one of the biggest mistakes then. We then conclude, well, there's no I, and we become nihilistic. That's the major mistake in the world. It's not like that. It's not like that. but it's easy to hear it. If you say there's no I from its own side, you won't find one. Then we, of course, we assume there's no I, and we want to, oh, well, I might as well die, you know. That's the mistake. It's a big mistake. So this Holiness of Dalai Lama says, the I isn't empty of intrinsic existence because you can't find it and you won't. That's not the real premise. He says the I is empty of intrinsic existence because it functions dependently. So these are the two truths together. As Lama Zopa says, when you realize the absence of the intrinsic I, emptiness, it's as if there's no I. But conventionally there is an I, but what does exist is so subtle, it's as if it doesn't. I find that so tasty, you know. So we've got to put these two truths together. And you can't have one without the other. There's a very simple way of putting it is that the emptiness of intrinsic Robina is a characteristic of conventional Robina. So you can't have one without the other. And Lord Buddha tells us that in the Heart Sutra. He says, he's talking about the 5 aggregates. And form is the first of the 5. And he says, form is empty. And then he says, emptiness is form. And then he says, form is nothing other than emptiness. And emptiness is nothing other than form, meaning the emptiness of intrinsic character of form, the ultimate reality, is a characteristic of the conventional form. You can't have one without the other. And then you will be guaranteed not to fall into the abyss of the great mistake that Tsongkhapa says and misunderstand emptiness. So in your meditation, you're realizing the absence of intrinsic nature. And then in your daily life, the practice of the yogi is to see everything as illusory. So when you come out of your meditation, you will see all the millions of phenomena staring at you. You've got computers and cloths and cups. But the difference now is you don't believe in them. They still function. The cup will hold your tea. But you see it like an illusion, as Lama says, like a dream. You loosen the grip of the grasping at a real intrinsic out there cup, a real intrinsic delicious cake out there, having nothing to do with my mind perceiving it. That's the dualistic world we live in. So to see everything as illusory, like an illusion, as Lama says, like. Yeah. What if you just see it a lot? Do you understand? Do you understand that? This is comfortable. Ask questions.
Can you hear me?
Darling? Good.
Am I going?
Go.
Oh. Can you hear me on Zoom?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. How do you moderate attachment in the teacher-student relationship?
Sorry, in the what?
In the teacher-student relationship, it's kind of a given on a certain level.
No, it's very big. It's a danger, actually, you know, because when you develop a relationship with anybody, you get attached. Whether it's a dog or your husband or a spiritual teacher or anybody, a mentor at school, attachment naturally kicks in because that's how we are. So so that means you're going to exaggerate and you're neurotic and dependent and kind of needy, and well, that part is what functions. So it's very easy to happen with a spiritual teacher. So that's why it's really the way, you know, is when we learn to distinguish between attachment and then merely wanting something. Or so attachment is an over-exaggeration, a kind of an emotional need, a neurotic neediness that makes you feel uncomfortable. But wanting a good teacher or anybody, or your math teacher, if you appreciate their qualities and you know you want their teachings, you go every single day to their class, that doesn't have to mean you're following attachment. You want to become a mathematician, you want to get better, you love this teacher, wow, they're fantastic, I want their teaching, you go every day to class. But if you're attached, you start to talk about it, you think they're seeing you as special, you want them to praise you, you get upset if they talk to somebody else, you get all needy and then you go berserk. So to see the difference between it and wanting something valid. Giving up attachment doesn't mean wanting anything. That's nihilism. Do you understand? Do you understand? Good. Okay. Well, I'm trying to distinguish between facts and fiction is the big way of putting the entire path. First conventionally, then ultimately. And that's why Buddha says about existence. He wants us to be in touch with existence. He says one of the characteristics of being a Buddha is that you literally are in touch with that which exists without mistake. And that's what omniscience is. I mean, that's a shock to the Christians. Literally knowing that which exists. Buddha says that's the potential of mind. I mean, it sounds insane. And the method to get to be in sync with that which exists is to remove the delusions. That's it. Very simple theory. Because mind has the mind's nature is to be clear and to know. It's his job. Mind's function is to know or to cognize. To cognize what? That which exists. So get rid of the pollution in it that's causing the mind to miscognize. Then you are in touch with that which exists. That's wisdom. That includes the minds of others, past, future, and everything else. It's kind of profound level of wisdom. Every mind has that potential, Buddha said. But we're first the conventional one, then the ultimate. Say like that. What else, people? Some questions? We don't have to. Also, we don't have to go till 4 o'clock. We can end now if we wanted to. But are there any questions? Anything at all? About anything else? Doesn't matter. It's under the emptiness. I just have to finish my job and do the 8 verses. That was all. Something else, people? No. Nothing. Okay, nothing. All right then. Nothing. So one thing you can say is what's helpful about the 2 wings. Every time you work on your mind, try and get conventional wisdom, lessening and grasping at things as permanent, lessening the attachment and anger, all the bells and whistles we stick on things. That, what it's doing explicitly is lessening your own fears and dramas and making you more clear and content. But implicitly, it's getting you closer to connection with others, because it's the presence of delusions that separate you from others. So it helps you get compassion. So when you're explicitly working on getting compassion, it's also implicitly helping you realize emptiness. So each helps the other. But you've got to realize both. They're very specific practices. So, because every time you are patient with somebody, you're loosening the grip of I. Every time you work on seeing there's no I, you get closer to having compassion. So they each help the other. It's very helpful to know that. And you've got to look into your toolkit every day and see which tool is the best one to use, you know. But you've got to realize emptiness, and you've got to have bodhicitta, the two together. I think it's enough. We finished now. I've got a feeling. So we just, even though we don't remember 90% of it, all that we've talked about, including I don't either, but it's all got in the mind. Be very happy about it. It's all programmed in your mind. It's in your memory. It doesn't go astray. They say nothing ever goes astray from the mind. So, of course, we have to learn to access it when we need it. So be delighted we've all thought about, listened to, contemplated, analysed this information. See if there's even as 1% you can take away to work with. How amazing. But have some confidence is the thing, you know. That's what I find marvelous about the Buddha's teachings. It's got incredible view of what we're capable of. It's so optimistic, you know. So have some confidence in our own amazing potential. Don't ever doubt that. And want to accomplish it. Want to get clarity. Want to have joy. Don't be apologetic. And want to give up delusions and nonsense for that reason. And then you want it for others as well. So maybe just put the prayers on the screen there. Dedication, that's it. Yes. What, dear? What? Oh, okay, let's do that. Good, okay. Let's do that. Okay, we can do that. Let's do the mandala first. Here's the prayer now. This is the one we're going to say. What this is offering. I mean, we do this strange thing, if you know what. Yeah, go. Do it. Absolutely. So what we're going to do is, this is tradition, this Tibetan thing. We're going to offer, we'll do this little prayer, and someone's going to offer this. It looks like 10-pin bowling, okay? It's actually, it's the universe that's got the different universes sticking up on it. And you're imagining offering as a thank you to the Buddha for the teachings of the whole entire universe. And then we're going to offer a statue, which represents enlightened body, a text, which represents enlightened speech, and a stupa, which represents enlightened mind. And by offering these as a thank you, we're also creating the cause for us to achieve this ourselves. Enlightened body, speech, and mind. So someone sing the prayer. Who's going to sing? Who's the umze? Huh? Who's the umze? Well, I'll be the umze. Okay. It's the center that should be singing the prayer, but I'll sing it. Okay. Saji perki juksing netog dramri ji ni de gen body sange jindu ni. I'm going to have it. That's the whole point. I want it. Lou, come closer. Now I forgot the prayer, so I'm being stupid. Sang. I'm getting a blessing, all right? That's the body. Now the speech. So I'll do the rest in English. Adorned with Mount Mary, full conscious, the sun and the moon. This is speech. Thank you. I imagine there's a Buddha field and I offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. All right. Now this is mind. You can't see, but it's a stupa. May we all achieve enlightened mind. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. That should have come first. Yeah, that's right. Never mind. It's okay. We'll do it. What? No, that comes first. Then the body, speech, and mind. Yeah. Universe. 10-pin. Look at it. It's the entire universe. We're offering it to the Buddha as a thank you for this. That's it. There we go. Yeah, the body, speech, and minds come last. The universe comes first. Thank you. That was it. Now the next prayer, please. Oh no, request for the. Okay, then this one we have. Go back. Say the other one. So this is like everybody. This is referring to all our teachers and all our lamas and all the teachers who represent the Buddha for us. We're saying, may our venerable lamas' lives be firm. May their white divine actions spread in the 10 directions. Their white actions, their divine actions. You know, white and black is no longer politically accurate in our culture, so we have to change these Indians' views. May their divine actions spread in the 10 directions. May the torch of the teachings of Losang, Tsongkhapa, always remain, dispelling the darkness of all beings in the 3 realms. And then we imagine Buddha happily receiving our offerings. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. Okay. Now we sing this little dedication prayer, and I'm going to give extra words to it, then we'll do the Tibetan. So we're saying, because of these virtuous karmic seeds we planted just by listening to these teachings, may we quickly attain the state of a Buddha, oneness with the Buddha, the Guru Buddha, meaning the mind of the Guru, the mind of the Buddha the same, and lead every single suffering sentient being without exception into that enlightened state. And then now may this amazing bodhicitta, it hasn't arisen in the minds of others, may it arise and grow, and which has arisen, may it never diminish, but increase more and more. That's it. Thank you, everybody. That's it. Okay, whatever you want. Okay. Is it? Yeah, you're very welcome. It's just an offering scarf, and you can. Okay, sure. Why not? Anyway, only you want to. You don't have to. Come on, if you want to do it.
Venerable, you have more people on Zoom that have tonkas. Or not, touches. We can't hear you.
Venerable, we'll need the microphone. We can't hear.
I don't know who the people who are going to come who not get the teaching. So that's not fair. What? But what are the people who are going to come? Oh, 4:15, we have to do it, yeah. We're going to have to do that. Unless we know other people who are coming. We don't know who's coming, do we? So we have to say 4:15. You sure it was 4:15 we said? It was 4:15. Okay, fine, 4:15. Okay, so I'll see you all later. Bye.
Thank you, Mary.